All right. It is right at 7 o'clock. Go ahead and start the meeting. We'll start out by doing a pledge to the flag, followed by a moment of silent reflection. Will you please rise? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Mrs. Roberts, please call the roll.
Mrs. Conrad Zangmeister.
Here.
Mr. Hoffman.
Here.
Mrs. Johns.
Here.
Mr. Myers.
Here.
Mr. Smeltzer.
Here. Everybody is here and accounted for. Next is the minutes. Hope everybody's had a chance to go over the minutes from last meeting. If there's no questions, comments, I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Conrad Zangmeister. Need a second.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Johns. Mrs. Roberts?
Mrs. Conrad Zangmeister.
Here, yes.
Mrs. Johns.
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Smeltzer.
Yes, motion's approved. Moves to 1.6, adjustments to the agenda. We have any adjustments tonight?
No adjustments at this time.
Okay, I'll move us into 2, information discussion. 2.1, superintendent updates. Mr. Bilbo.
Thank you. Welcome everybody here. We have a few guests, some new hires that we'll be introducing tonight, so we're excited about that. As we get to those new hires, talk a little bit more at that time, but do want to welcome Mr. Mark Wood, who is going to be working at the middle school, replacing Mr. Guzman, who will be retiring after a medical leave here. And then also have Coach Justice here this evening, as far as going to be our new athletic director and follow in Coach Clark's footsteps there. And we're really excited about bringing him on board as well. Exhaustive search for our athletic director. We had 32 applicants, and as we went through resumes and looked at that information and brought people in for interviews, Coach Justice just stood out heading above everybody else, and so we're excited to bring him on board. Would also like to recognize Tammy Elkins. Has been an aide at the high school, I think 25 years. She'll be retiring at the end of the year. She couldn't be here this evening. Some medical stuff in her family that she needed to be at home for, so she wanted me to pass along her apologies for not being here, but wanted me to thank the board on her behalf for all of the support over the years and the opportunity to work at Fairfield Union, and she's done a good job for us. We hate to see her go, but certainly wish her well in retirement. And then we have a few transfers of teachers as we start preparing for next school year. It's always an interesting time as we have retirements or teachers transferring to new jobs to take on some new challenges. Those are always exciting times, and we're knee-deep into interviews, and be interviewing some elementary teachers tomorrow to fill some spots at Bremen Elementary School. So it's an exciting time, a lot of things happening. So that's kind of where we are on the agenda. I'll jump on a few additional items as we get through. Just have a couple other items, legislative updates, and then one call out for a staff member, and I'll do the staff member first. Recently we were made aware that Mr. Baker at the high school has been named as one of the 10 Golden Owl Award winners in the state of Ohio, and the Golden Owl is given to ag teachers in the state, agriculture education, and he is now in the running to be the state agriculture education teacher of the year. So he's one of the 10 finalists, and just a tremendous honor, and he'll find out a little later this year if he wins that. So we're excited for him, and we were able to surprise him a little bit. His family came to a ceremony. He thought he was at school for just an ag meeting, and he walks in and there are people from the state and supporting companies who support the Golden Owl Award. And it was a great evening to honor him that night and surprise him a little bit. So it was a good time. Legislative updates. It is an interesting time in politics in Ohio as we are preparing for the biennium budget. The budget bill now has officially been given a bill number. It's House Bill 33. And want to talk about House Bill 33, the budget bill, and House Bill 1 kind of in conjunction. The budget bill, couple of highlights. These are going to change dramatically over the next 3 or 4 months. So I don't want to dive too deep into it because we know right now it's in committee with the House. After it goes through committee, it'll go to the Senate and then ultimately back to the governor. So there are going to be a lot of changes between now and the end of June when it ends up back on the governor's desk. But a couple of key points I want to look at in the construction of the budget bill. They have, committed to funding the Fair School Funding Formula, which is a good thing for us. That was introduced in the last budget. And how it's going to get funded is really kind of where there's a lot of uncertainty right now. What is currently being proposed is for the funding formula in fiscal year 24 to be funded at 50% of what it would take to fully implement. And then in fiscal year 25, that would jump up to 66.67% of the total amount that would be needed to fully implement that funding formula. So it's good to see those numbers go up. It started out at 16, 17%, then went to 33.
33 this year.
So now, they're proposing 50 and 66.67. So it's good to see that they're continuing to increase the amount of money putting into that formula. The drawback in certain pieces of the Fair School Funding Plan, they are still using fiscal year 18 inputs. And some of those inputs are like teacher salaries. The average teacher salary, they're using average teacher salaries from 2018, which pre-COVID. Most school districts have been through 1 or 2 teacher negotiations in that time. So teacher salaries have increased dramatically since 2018. Some of the other inputs, insurance, school expenditures are all input at fiscal year 2018 levels, and those are being used to calculate this funding formula. So schools are lobbying, legislators, we have fiscal year 22 numbers. Let's use fiscal year 22 inputs for that funding formula. What I'm hearing is there's a target number out there that the state would like to put into funding. If they use fiscal year 22 inputs, then the 50% and the 66.67% are going to drop. If they use 2018 inputs, then we're looking at 50 and 66.67. Either way, that leads you to the real number that they're wanting to fund education. Those numbers aren't in concrete yet. It looks like there'll be small increases in overall funding for public education. However, based on early projections, we would essentially be flat funded, is what it's looking like. I think straight state aid, we'd be looking at a reduction, but there are a couple of line items being added to the formula or to the budget that would bring in a little bit of extra money for us, that would have us as a slight positive increase, but the money would be severely restricted on what you can and can't spend it on. For example, just straight up funding formula, we would lose, based on early projections, we'd lose about $5,000 over the 2-year biennium budget compared to 23-24 funding, or 22-23 funding. 24-25, we'd lose about $5,000. but there's extra money for SROs in there that would bring us to have a positive flow, but you can only spend that money on SROs. So it's very, very restricted. Now, again, it's high level, it's kind of the 30,000-foot view of funding, but again, there will be a lot of changes. The part that also plays into all this is House Bill 1, which would modify property taxation and income tax rates in Ohio. House Bill 1 was introduced without really considering other pieces of legislation that are already in place, in particular House Bill 920. House Bill 920 addresses taxation in Ohio, especially as it relates to property taxes. So it was kind of, we introduced the bill and then found out, oh wait, there's these other bills that would alter what we really wanted to have happen with House Bill 1. But the things that concern me, Fairfield Union currently receives roughly $28.6 million in funding for our schools. That's local and state, federal, everything combined. At least that was the information from our last report card. Locally, we receive about $13 million, which is 45.4% of roughly our overall funding. If House Bill 1 goes through and we lose local money from property taxes and income taxes, then when you pair losing those funds locally with basically being flat funded in the formula, now we're being hit twice. And that is concerning from my perspective, and poor Ms. Roberts, we need oxygen in her office down there. I mean, there have been simulations and meetings with OASBO and county treasurers and auditor. I mean, Ms. Roberts has been in meeting after meeting after meeting the past couple of weeks, going through simulations, and if this happens, how does it impact that, and so on and so forth. So she may have more to add to that, but again, we're 4 months out from the budget bill going through, and we don't know exactly what's going to happen with House Bill 1. So a lot of these things are very much guesswork, but you have to start preparing for worst case scenarios, and so on and so forth. The last piece of legislation I want to talk about real quick, House Bill 11, it's a backpack bill and deals with vouchers. In House Bill 11, and this somewhat ties back to House Bill 33, the budget bill. In the backpack bill, the proposal in House Bill 11 would increase those eligible for vouchers. It currently sits at 250% of the federal poverty level. The backpack bill, House Bill 11, would increase that to 400% of the federal poverty level. And so what does that mean? In easy numbers, a family of four making $120,000 a year as a family would be eligible for the vouchers. So it increases the pool dramatically, the number of people that would be eligible for vouchers. And where this really comes into play, currently Fairfield Union receives roughly $5,700 in state funding per pupil. The voucher program in House Bill 11 would dictate private schools currently receive about $1,500 just for administrative cost from the state. House Bill 11 is proposing $5,500 per voucher for elementary students, $7,500 per voucher for secondary level students. When you combine that with the $1,500 they already received that would not go away, at the elementary level, it'd be $7,000 per student. At the secondary level, it'd be $9,000 per student. Meanwhile, we're getting $5,700 per student, and we have to pay for the busing to go to those schools and other things. So there is a push from schools to, if you're going to have vouchers, at least make all the money the same. If a student going to a private Catholic school gets $9,000 in a voucher, then a student attending Fairfield Union High School should get $9,000 in state funding. And then also make accountability the same. They should take the same assessments that we take if they're going to accept public money. We shouldn't have to bus their students any longer. They're receiving state money, they can bus their own students. So they're, we're trying to approach things from that perspective, that if money is going to follow the students, fine. School choice is fine, no problem. But at least make the playing field level. So a lot happening financially in all of the legislation as is normal. So just wanted to kind of bring those things to the attention of the board, and we'll continue to monitor and look over those things and provide updates as we go through this legislative session. Any questions? Okay.
Mr. Roberts.
Yeah, so a few things, actually, I wanted to talk through funding also, and as we were sitting here, I just got the most updated, probably in theory, easiest, simulator that I thought we would be able to get, that would kind of talked us through this from a webinar I sat through today, but it's not pulling up so quickly. So, first off, I think just to kind of add on to what Mr. Belleville was saying, is that obviously there's a lot of moving pieces. House Bill 1 right now is my biggest concern as to what's up in the air. If you remember from our forecast that I did in November, I actually built our state funding pretty much flat. So I kind of already accounted for no additional state funding. So at least from our forecast perspective, I was not banking on, a lot of increased dollars. And how I did that was I actually pulled back those percentages to about 40, 45, and then 50%. So I didn't even get us all the way to 50% until, I want to say it was like fiscal year 26. So I've already kind of preemptively pulled that back just to be very cautious on it. So good news, bad news is, at least from our forecast standpoint, I don't think that part's going to drastically change. But I completely agree that if we could get it to be the 2022 inputs, it would definitely help us so that we don't have that big of a gap in years. However, that being said, from House Bill 1, my big concern is that property taxes and income tax. So obviously it would take everybody in the state of Ohio for state income tax to a 2.75% bracket. The other thing then is on property taxes is right now we have roughly about a $230 million property value in the district. We currently can basically get, the taxable value is 35% of that. The proposal with House Bill 1 is that it would take it down to 31%. So we're gonna lose about 10% of our taxable value, or about $23 million of taxable value, which means that when we get property taxes, essentially we lose $23 million worth of property taxes that we receive. So those are my big concerns. We're currently what's called the 20 mil floor. Basically what the law states is that we have levied tax, or we have, levied taxes over the years for certain mills. We're currently 39, it's like 39 and a half mills that we have levied taxes for. As property values go up, what the auditor can do is they reduce those mills so that the amount that we're receiving stays consistent. However, once you hit a 20 mil floor, so once they reduce it to 20 mils, they can't reduce it anymore legally. So when you're at the 20 mil floor, as property values go up, you receive that increased value. So for example, like if 5 mils equal $500,000, just to make it easy, 5 mils equal $500,000. If your property value goes up, then they reduce their mills so that you stay at that $500,000. Then the law is you can only go down to 20 mils. They can't take you any lower than that. So once you're at that 20 mil floor, you get that full value. So if your property values go up, you receive whatever that 20 mil value is. We are pretty much at that 20 mil floor. If they take this back, we will fall off of that 20 mil floor, which means anytime there's an increase in property value, we will not receive that, because they'll just keep reducing us until we get back to that 20 mil floor. So that's my big concern, is that it'll take years for us to get back to that. The calculator that I was hoping would work that just came through, that's what it's basically gonna tell us, that as of today, what would that mean to us? So we'll have some more information. I think at this point, I kind of mentioned earlier, and Mr. Bell was right, I've sat through a lot of webinars, each group is kind of trying to run their own simulators, which is great, because I think everybody's doing their part to really understand what funding means. I think at this point, it's kind of one of those things like, we're gonna let it work, see what happens, and, but we do have some ideas as to what I think that could mean for the forecast. So the May forecast, I think, will be interesting. However, even by the time we do the May forecast, I still don't think they will have this 100% confirmed. I will do the May forecast our second May board meeting. So we'll get there. I mean, the good news is that I keep saying no matter what, we are still in good shape. We're in good financial shape with the district. It's kind of why we prepare for the unknown. So I think we're in really good shape, and I think, we can kind of weather whatever's thrown our way. But it would be nice to have some indicators as to what that means. So, any questions on that? And it's kind of a lot of information brewing out there right now, but if anybody hears of anything, or if there's anything that, people hear out there, feel free, send me an email, call me, and I can help walk through things as much as we know for now. Other than that, I don't have a lot. I have our financial summaries, our insurance summary. I do have a tax budget out there for the agenda, but that's about it for my agenda items.
All right, we'll move into number 3, recognition of visitors. I don't believe there's anybody. Okay. Move into 4, reports and presentations. The administrator reports. We'll go with Mr. Knott since he's already standing up.
All right, so over the weekend on Saturday evening, we had our annual dances. Everything you would want to see as a principal, well attended, great behavior on the students, great help from the high school kids. A big shout out to them. When it was getting a little bit toward the end, they went out and danced with the kids and kind of brought it back up. So that was fantastic to see there. My PTO members tell me it was we haven't had a crowd like that for the last couple of years, so that's a plus. I was happy. Again, anytime that we can have fun and enjoy it and follow the rules, we're good to go. So I was very pleased to see that. Gifted testing is finally wrapped up and done. Edie came and got the school send that away, and we'll see what the results are about. So that's good to have that checked off our list as well. On Wednesday morning, the Columbus Zoo is coming down. We're doing 2 sessions, and so I've been listening and hearing that as the teachers, they kind of know what the topics are that the animals are going to bring in. So they've been pulling that into their classrooms, talking about that stuff, kind of giving a little bit more information before those animals get there. So that should be fun. Music programs, like Mrs. Miller Minor, scheduled coming up for 1st and 2nd grade too on Thursday, March 23rd. First graders will start around 6 o'clock, about 7:15 for 2nd grade. We also just now scheduled our breakfast club in the morning. If you remember at the beginning of the year, we always do that when we bring the families in. We do that again in the spring because we've gained families. They are in different interactions and things, so those will be the mornings of March 22nd and March 23rd. They start about 7:45, and it really is the ideal time for me, being new, to really have time to get to know families, to talk to them and share some information. The kids always like to brag about what's going on at school too, so that's always a plus too. And that helps those families that maybe can't get to the evening things but can in the morning. So we're able to reach some families there as well. It was fun today as I was walking around the classrooms. Upstairs, it was opinion writing. So it was a lot of writing about favorite candies, favorite movies, and kind of sharing those reasons why. Then when I walked downstairs, it was all about how to make pizzas. So it was the steps in the process, and my first graders, they had a construction paper and they were building those things, and they were, first you do this, the second you do this. So it was real cute kind of time to see that as well. 3rd and 4th graders will also be going to the high school on March 15th to watch part of Annie. So we're excited about that. I shared that news with them today. And then overall in the building, as we gear up for testing, I'm pretty proud that the teachers have been very proactive, and so a lot of those, what we call those skills that we know show up there, have been all year long sprinkled into everything we do. And so it really, the kids aren't noticing, even though we as adults know we're getting closer to that. Let's make sure. For the kids, it's just another opportunity to practice those same skills that we saw all year long. So the teachers should be proud of themselves there as well. I have to say, hey, I'm headed into springtime. Springtime is always go, go, go. It just is field trip, fun stuff, testing, all that kind of stuff. I feel like, fingers crossed, I could give you the name of every kid in the building at this point Definitely have my staff members. I'm about halfway through with my family, so I'm feeling pretty good at this point. We'll see what I think in May, but right now, it feels good. Always a pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Knott.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes, so just a few things from the middle school. Later on this week, Wednesday, we have our parent advisory meeting. And so we plan to talk with them about some upcoming events for our middle school students. We have our testing that we're gonna discuss with them. We're gonna share, the new vision and mission for the district, get some feedback from them, and just talk with them about some curriculum things as well for science and social studies that's up and coming here for the next year. On March 9th, the high school guidance will be coming over to the 8th grade during their social studies classes to talk with them about scheduling for this next school year. So that's exciting time for our 8th grade students. March 11th is Saturday. We have our Math Counts state competition. We have 2 students who have progressed to that level. We have Luke Sattler and Kennedy Behringer, who will be representing us for our Math Counts competition. We also have our Power of the Pen competition. They are going to be going to OU Zanesville for their next leg of their competition as well. We are having a breakfast for them in our cafeteria before they leave in the morning, so that'll take place at 6:40 on Saturday morning. So you're welcome to join us if you're up that early on Saturday morning to send them off. Next week we do have our spring pictures on March 14th, so we'll do our grade level pictures as well as spring pictures for all of our individual students. Later on that day, we are going to, if weather permitting, walk over to the high school for a portion of the Annie performance. If it's raining or the weather's not good, then we're going to have buses ready to go for us. Parent-teacher conferences are on March 14th and 16th of next week. And then March 22nd, we have our OST test security meeting along with Mr. DeStadio and Ms. Schilling, and that we'll get all the ins and outs to make sure all of our test proctors are administering the test correctly for all of our tests that will be coming up here. And then those will begin on March 28th and the 30th. So we'll start off with our ELA tests, and then we have science and math as well in April. So busy upcoming few weeks. Thank you.
All right. Any questions for Ms. Hahn? Mr. McPhail?
Okay, guys, I'm going to take a little bit of time here at the beginning of my presentation and I apologize in a way that I'm going to read to you here. There's quite a few names that I want to recognize. It is just, at the high school, there are so many groups doing so many things. The students are excelling in multiple areas. So I wanted to try to do a bit of a recap as best as we could, kind of at this transition from winter into the spring. So I'm going to start with our CTE programs, and we talk quite a bit about CTE at the board meetings with lots of the technical side, but what really matters is what's happening with the students and what they're getting to engage in their activities and their programs and competitions. And so start with ag in the career development event area. They call those CDEs. And again, these are snapshots. This isn't everything. I'll go back. You'll remember the board approved a trip to a competition we had never been to before, I don't think, the Big E. And that was a regional type competition. Only 9 teams qualified for that nationally. And we did have some people really excel there. So we had Emma Dobemeyer finish 3rd individually overall. And then we also had our forestry team finish 2nd place, and there were 22 teams competing in that as well. Then in February of 23, our Ag Power Diagnostics troubleshooting, they finished 6th. This is a big one. They finished 6th place as a team in the state, so they were 6th in the state. And we had 2 students, Nate Foltz and Bryant Muller, that finished 2nd in the district, and that tied to scholarship money. So both of those young men are going to receive $3,000 each to attend the University of Northern Ohio. So they're both going to work in that field, already got started on their scholarship money. I love that. I think the grand prize for the winner of that competition was $10 grand, so it was a significant competition that they went to. Then kind of moved down to the proficiencies, and in the ag world, proficiencies are the kind of the American, state, and national degrees. There are other competitions as well. So for example, if you go back, last year graduate, but he finished the competition this summer, and we recognize Nate. You remember Nate McCandlish? Just a reminder, he was the winner of the turf grass management competition. That's a national competition. So I wanted to give him one last shout out as we were recapping. Also, in 2022, the American Degrees, which is kind of the highest degree, it's the fourth of 4 degrees that you can receive as an ag member, culminates in the summertime, usually of your senior year. So these students have graduated, but last year's recipients that received this summer: Alyssa Swick, Braden Barber, Brooklyn DeFazio, Nate McCandlish, Allison Baker, Nick Barrett, Colt Dennis, Jeff King, Josh Starner, Trevor Thomas. That's 10 total. That is a massive amount of American Degrees for an ag program. It's really, really good. Tough to duplicate that every year, and those students put in a lot of work throughout the course of their high school career to get to that designation. The next level down, the state degree level, anticipating for May of 2023, so this coming May: Anna Conrad, Nate Foltz, Zach Kimball, Avery Long, Bailey McMahon, Kara Miller, Bryant Muller, Jay Shumway, Georgia Starner, and that's 9 total. So, you know, we'll see how they finish up this year. We anticipate they're going to make it, and then, you know, what comes next for them possibly. Our 2023 anticipated American Degree recipients, this is still in progress: Ben Biter, Seth McCready, and Brody Morgan. I also wanted to mention, just to kind of finish up with ag, we did have Kate Markwood at the county fair this year. She was the first attendant in the Queens contest. We had 20 students receive the OSHA 10-hour credential. It's a safety credential. Of course, Mr. Belleville mentioned Mr. Baker just received the Golden Owl Award. He'll be competing for the top ag teacher in the state later this year. We had 60 students complete their hunter's ed license, and we had 78 students complete their green hand degree. That is, the green hand degree typically is a freshman, but it's the first degree that you get in the ag program, building toward that, you know, state American Degree Award. Just a couple of things with FCCLA very quickly. This year we had 5 students: Kaylee Imsweiler, Gracie Hedges, Jillian Starner, B. Tharp, and Layla Williams compete for the first time ever in the FCC Knowledge Bowl, and we have 7 students competing at the regionals this weekend, as a matter of fact, and those 7 students we'll recognize them at the next meeting, but they're competing for the chance to qualify for the state and then ultimately the national FCCLA competition. I did want to review our DECA awards. Our DECA program is just in its 2nd year. They've done an outstanding job. They're extremely successful at this early point in their careers. But in principles of marketing, Alex Davis finished in 5th place. Apparel and accessories, Caden Redmond finished in 5th place. Avery Van Voor's 4th place. In hotel lodging, Caden Brearley finished 3rd. In human resources management, Sawyer Kaiser finished in 3rd place. In business finance, Sarah Turner finished in 2nd place, and she's a state qualifier, and that state event is this weekend. Restaurant and food service marketing, Jay Wellman finished in 2nd place. Jay's a state qualifier for this weekend. Food marketing, Elena Smith finished in 1st place and is a state qualifier. And these are district results for DECA. Travel and tourism teams, Nora Vale and Layla Williams finished in 3rd place. Chloe Shiflett and Gabby Baumbush finished in 1st place in that event. They're state qualifiers. Law and ethics team, Cohen Behringer and Howard Bean finished in 4th place. Sports and entertainment marketing, Caleb Smeltzer and DJ Spicer finished in 1st place. They're state qualifiers. And then lastly, the entrepreneurship team, Avery Phillips and James Worthington, 1st place and a state qualifier. Hospitality team, Liza Vale and Chloe Griggs, 1st place and a state qualifier. I think that's 9 state qualifiers, if my math is correct. So we're really, really proud of them. The other thing I would mention about many of the names on that list, some of you may recognize those names from other activities. Many of those students that finished in 1st or 2nd place and qualified for the state are also either athletes and still involved in their respective sports, and or involved in the music program at a really high level, which is not unusual for us, as we all know. I did want to bring you up to date again on on our music program, a big shout out. We've talked about this in my previous reports, but I thought our marching band had a really, really good year. Took a huge step. Our entire music department, our 3 music teachers at the secondary level are doing a great job of working together, and you can tell. Every program is taking big steps forward. They're flourishing. Those experiences are getting better. To that end, our band competed in an OMEA adjudicated event this year. It's the first time, I don't even know the last time that we've done this. It's been a while. And those adjudicated events have multiple sections to them. One of the things that the students are required to do is do a sight read, which is the entire band, including the director, gets a sheet of music that they've never seen before. And they have, I don't know, 10 minutes, I think, to look over that music and make notes on it. It's very strict, highly adjudicated, and they have all these professional music educators in the room, and then they get a chance to rehearse it for like 10 minutes, and then they have to play it, and they get a score. So 1 is the highest rating, and we got a 2 rating. And I know Mr. Kitchen was extremely excited with that rating. He felt like that was above and beyond maybe what he would have expected. He said our kids did an outstanding job. It's all about the experience. It's all about musicianship, and I'm really excited that we took that on. The kids worked hard at it, and so I'm certain that that'll be probably a standard as we move forward. Just a few details on the musical. It is musical time. The musical, of course, is Annie. My colleagues had mentioned, the other performances that are coming up that week. I kind of want to run you through the week. And again, this is to the ambition that our music educators and our department has taken on, because this is a big chunk. So starting on Tuesday, the 14th, we're going to do an AM and a PM performance. The AM performance will be for our high school students. They'll do just the first act. And then in the after, the kids will have lunch. And then in the afternoon, the middle school's coming over. They'll do the first act for the middle school as well. Then on the 15th, the 3rd and 4th grades from both Bremen and Pleasantville Elementaries are going to come over together, and they'll have an AM performance to see Act 1 as well. And then the actual show begins for the community on Thursday, March 16th. The Thursday night show is at 8 p.m. And I need to update the marquee because I have all 3 nights listed at 7. But Thursday night is at 8 p.m. and then Friday and Saturday are 7 p.m. shows. So set's looking good. The kids look like they're ready to go to me. We're excited about this. And again, new tradition. This is a musical for the 2nd year in a row. And right now, I think the plan is to do a musical every year rather than every other year. So just huge shout out to everybody involved in the cast and crew. There are 81 cast and crew members involved in this production. So looking forward to that. In athletics, we're in the middle of again a really nice run. The indoor track season just ended at the indoor state meet. Now this isn't really an OHSA recognized sport, but it's huge here. Our indoor track program is very large. Just some highlights here. In the 4x8 guys, Marcus Runkle, Drew Walton, Nathan Phillips, and Caleb Kellenbarger finished in 10th place. On the girls' side, 4x8. Anna Conrad, Andrea Phillips, Abby Pike, and Addie Winters finished in 6th place. And then Marcus Runkle finished in 2nd place in the 3,200 meter. In wrestling, James Worthington was 3rd in the district and the state qualifier, so James is headed up to the state wrestling tournament this Friday. And of course, our boys basketball team is in the middle of a tournament run, made the Sweet 16 this past Sunday afternoon. And we're looking forward to Thursday night. Thursday night we play back at the Convocation Center, the Convo in Athens. It's an 8 p.m. tip. So we're looking forward to taking our students back down. We've been taking student fan buses to those games. Seems to be working out well, and so we're excited about that. 2 additional things just briefly on the high school operation. It's testing time. You heard my colleagues speak to testing. There's no way to make testing not a disruption. It's the reality is it's part of what we have to do, and we're making every effort to try to find ways to make it the least disruptive that we can. So at the high school this year, Mr. Schaefer has done an outstanding job of running our testing programs. We're going to try a kind of a new approach to our end-of-course exam tests. In the past several years, we've tried to keep classes running kind of on a normal bell schedule, but then the students that test came out, we tested them in a larger group, kind of like you would do an ACT, and did that in a cafeteria, and we do a morning and afternoon session, and you know, it was pretty effective. So we thought we'd try something new, and we're going to create a testing schedule where the first 2 hours of the morning, all the students will be in the building, but we really won't be running a bell schedule per se. The students that aren't testing will be either in study hall environment, or for example, the students that are taking AP classes, we're going to try to get them scheduled with their AP teachers so they can begin some more intricate 2-hour in-depth review to get ready for their AP testing, which comes after end-of-course exams. Anything we can do like that, where we can get students with a teacher during that 2-hour window to get a +1, if you will, then we're going to do that. On the testing side of things, we'll take our English hallway upstairs, and all of the classrooms in the English hallway will be testing classrooms. What that means is the students will be testing in groups of about 20 to 22, so it'll be a smaller group in a testing environment. There will be 2 teachers in there to help supervise those tests, one that takes the lead, one that's just kind of a testing proctor. We're going to use a classroom to kind of make a testing central location for the administrative group that kind of monitors that. We'll have an area for our Chromebook cards for extra Chromebooks and the like. What that does is isolate the testers away from the other students. The other students will be on the opposite upstairs wing and social studies wing, and then the entire downstairs area we're going to use to run those other locations where students aren't testing. So we'll see how it goes. We're really optimistic. We think this could be a good step for us. So I'll report back on how it goes in May whenever the testing's all finished.
All right, any questions? All right, just want to say congratulations, Coach Schaefer. Good luck this week. All right, that'll move us into the consent agenda section. 5.2, workshops and conferences. Mr. Bellbell?
Yeah, have Mr. Blanton to the Visual Performing Arts Gifted Portfolio at the Fairfield County Development Disability Center in Forest Rose is where he'll be going for that, and I'm excited to have him partake in that once again. Then Ms. Swick to Kings Island Marketing Day. This will be the same day as the Physics Day and Calculus Day. It's just another component of Kings Island that day, so we'll have 3 groups going up, so would recommend we approve those.
Questions? All right, moves into financial items. Mrs. Roberts?
Okay, the first, we're gonna start out with some donations. We have a donation of $40 from Benton County National Bank for participants in the School Spirit debit cards. We have an anonymous donation of $250 for the Kevin Miller Scholarship, and another anonymous donation of $1,000 for the Academic Excellence Scholarship. Sorry. And then I'm going to go into our financial reports and our insurance report. So first off, for financials, a lot of the same information that we've been talking about. We are in really, really good financial shape. If I look at this year compared to last year, so far we've received a total revenue of $19.3 million compared to $18.7 last year. It's up 3% to last year. The way that breaks down, property taxes are up 9%, income taxes are up 17%. Just to call out, I actually had income tax forecasted flat to last year, so this is quite a big increase to the forecast. We did not see this at the beginning half of the year, so it's really picked up on the back half. So we'll pay attention to that and to kind of see, we have one more income tax payment for the year, because they receive quarterly. State grants up 2%, so I know I mentioned that I really have been kind of holding that flat to years past. And then other revenue, we're at $358,000. So far, the biggest piece of this is interest. I'm excited to say that we've received a total of $270,000 in interest just at this point through February. And all of last year, we only received $144,000. So we've almost doubled our interest from last year. So really happy to see that. Expenditures, we have spent $15.7 million versus 15.2 last year, up 3%. Personnel services or salaries are up 7%. We are at 68% of the forecast, which is where we should be at this point of the year. So I think that we're gonna be pretty on to the forecast for overall salaries, for the year. Benefits were at just under 3.6 million versus $3.5 million last year. Purchase services, 1.5 versus 1.5 last year. And supplies, 565 versus 524. So we're pretty even in expenditures to last year, other than salaries, which we had planned for. So no major call-outs overall. Overall, if I look at our cash balance, we ended the month at 18.6 million versus last February we were at 16.4. I am forecasting the year to come in at 17 million. If I looked at our end of February last year and to where we ended the year, we lost about $1 million because February is one of our high months. So if we were to do that for this year, we would come in pretty much right on forecast. So I do think we'll come in right around that $17 million cash balance. So overall, at this point, no major call-outs. I will present our next forecast. Actually, we're already started kicking off the next forecast. I will present at the second board meeting in May. But as of right now, knock on wood, I don't see any major like shifts or anything to forecast, so feeling pretty good.
How's the new legal gambling? How's that affecting schools?
We don't have a ton of it yet. The biggest thing is, like with some bingo and with some of the other, like, like Pick a Square and some of that. That's at least internally how it affect us, but then, like,
Okay.
other things.
Because they were claiming a lot.
I did hear today, Aaron Roush, who is the kind of the finance guru for ODE, commented that for like online gambling, those type of things, they had projected, I'm wanting to say like $1.1 billion for the year, and they hit $1.1 billion in a little over a month.
I heard those, yeah, some big numbers like that. Yeah, I'd heard something like that.
Yeah, so I don't think they fully comprehend how this is going to impact school funding and what of that money will go to schools and those type, because it has completely exceeded anything they dreamt of for the revenue that it was going to generate.
We currently receive about $50,000 from casino revenue.
Yeah.
So this would be, obviously it's not casino, but it's currently gambling money we receive, so we'll see. But there
Yeah.
really has not been a lot of projections out from it yet.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions on finance stuff? Okay, I'm gonna move over to the insurance report. So far in health insurance, we've seen a revenue of $3 million versus just under $3 million last year. Our premiums this year are flat to last year. With rebates, we've seen about $148,000. So as a reminder, we took some of our admin costs up, but then also received pharmacy rebates, so it's offsetting that. So happy to see that. Our total expenditures are very similar, 2.438 versus 2.442. Our claims are up $4,000 to last year, so we really can't get more even than that. So, happy to see, I think we are definitely working as a team to control claims. We ended the month a little over $3 million versus 2.2 last February. Our dental insurance, our revenue decreased, however, we were planning into that because we did take our premiums down to $89 versus $94 last year. Our total revenue this year is at $143,000 versus $149,000 last year. And then expenses are up $13,000. So at $142,000 versus $129,000 last year. However, our cash balance is still sitting where we need it to. So we're sitting at about $227,000 versus $223,000 last year. So holding tight in dental, I think lowering the premium to $89 was the right decision. Right around that $200,000 mark is really where we would like to be with dental. So I think we're seeing the results we expected. We expected some of the expenses to come up this year. We're still kind of coming out of COVID. People are still getting back in that regular routine, especially within dental is where the market has seen. But I do think we're probably pretty much almost back to where we've been. So any questions on health or dental insurance?
Thank you.
Sounds good?
All right. I will need a motion to approve the consent agenda items, please.
So moved, Mr. President.
Moved by Mr. Hoffman, I need a second.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Myers. Mrs. Roberts?
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mrs. Conrad Zangmeister?
Yes.
Mrs. Johns?
Yes.
Mr. Smeltzer?
Yes, motion passes. All right, that moves us into number 6, new business section. 6.1, motion to approve one-year administrator contract for James Justice as athletic director beginning August 1st, 2023. Salary Schedule B, Group 3, Step 2, pending verification. Mr. Belleville.
Yeah, like I said earlier, just so excited. When we interviewed Coach Justice, when I was talking to him on the phone the other day, it quickly went from an interview to just a conversation. I think he just gets it. I think his views on really kind of the big picture of not just focusing on athletics, but how student athletes can be productive members in our buildings, in society, through community service, through different initiatives that he has some great ideas about that I think will really fit in well with things we already do. Student athlete leadership councils where they're working in the community and buildings and giving back and really getting a firm grasp of just how things function and see kind of the efforts behind the scenes to make it all happen. So him doing those type of things, I think will be incredible with our kids, and will fit in well with the community. Just talking with our team, honestly, it was during the interview, it was the first time I'd spent a lot of time talking to Coach Justice outside of a hello at a game or something like that. And it felt like we'd known each other for years. Just that commonality of our belief systems in the role of athletics in the educational process, and just his passion and dedication is just it's infectious. It's great to be around. So we're extremely excited. Obviously, him being a lifetime MSL guy is also helpful. He understands the conference and how things function there, and knows our community and our schools. So I think he's just going to be an incredible fit, and we're extremely blessed to be bringing him on board. Our interview committee, Mr. Smeltzer, Mr. Hoffman were there, so you guys can feel free to jump in on that. And Coach Schaefer, Ms. Hahn, Mr. McPhail, anything you guys would like to say as well, feel free.
I would say, when you've done this for 33 years and you're passionate about what you do and you sit in a lot of interviews, when I came out of this interview, I was motivated. I felt like, okay, Coach Justice is going to be a person that not only adds value to our high school and our programs, but I think he's going to push all of us. I think, I'm excited to have an opportunity to work alongside him.
Yep, I think he's a great fit for our team, and I really look forward to working with him.
Coach Justice, anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, absolutely. First off, I just want to thank everybody for this opportunity. I'm extremely excited. Very humbled by everything that you guys just said. Very humbled by the opportunity to come here and be part of a great team. I think I told the interview committee one thing that really I admire about this place. I grew up in the Mid-State League. I visited here as a player. I coached here. Coach Schaefer's ported on me a couple times. So when I coached basketball, but just the facilities, how well they're maintained, how beautiful everything is, and to me that says there's a lot of people here that take a great deal of pride in the things that you guys do here, the things that you do for student athletes. My job as an AD is to make coaches' jobs easier, to provide the best athletic opportunities for our students, and opportunities outside the classroom as well. We started a few things at Amanda Clerkey this year that I want to jump on right away. We started a student athlete leadership team. They've been awesome for me this year. We've got a meeting Wednesday morning. I'm sure that's going to be a tough meeting for me, and talking to those kids. But they've just stepped up. They're involved with our entire youth sports programs. Last Friday, deep down they're probably mad at me. I made a few of them visit every K-5 classroom We passed out flyers, talked to every kid. We're doing an all sports youth, an all sports fun night here in a couple weeks where we're going to have all of our varsity coaches present. They're going to run a station, kind of get kids interested in different sports, but they've been an instrumental piece. You know, those are things that I want to jump on right away here at Fairfield Union. You know, I'm extremely humbled. I'm thrilled to join the Falcon family, and I'm excited and I'm ready to get started. So thank you all. It's actually the first board meeting I've ever been invited to. So I was very nervous walking in.
Not the last.
So I have attended one when I do my athletic council updates for our school board, but for you guys to reach out and invite me here tonight, that says a lot. And I'm extremely excited and I'm ready to get started here. So there's a lot of good things happening here. I'm just going to kind of come in and hopefully, build on those and continue to do great things for our entire community and our students. So very humbled and thank you guys very, very much. So thank you.
You stay right there, Coach. We'll just make this official real quick, all right?
All right.
All right, anybody have any questions or comments to begin with? If not, I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Myers, I need a second. I will second, actually. Mrs. Roberts.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Smelter?
Yes.
Mrs. Conrad Zangmeister?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mrs. Johns?
Yes.
Motion's approved. Congratulations.
Thank you guys very much. Nice to meet you, sir. Thank you guys. Thank you very much. Good to see you again. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good to see you again, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good to see you. Shake hands too. Nice to meet you. Thank you very much. So, thank you guys. Say your brother's got a well, thank you.
Yeah.
Coach, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but if you need to take off, that's perfectly
Yeah,
fine as well.
I'm gonna run back and
Yeah.
check on some of my
Check some doors and stuff back there. You say, yeah.
The other night I did, and I caught one.
I understand.
I just try to take care of that for.
Thank you for being here. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. 6.2, motion to approve a support service contract for Gregory Markwood as custodian on salary schedule L, step 5, beginning March 6th, 2023.
Really appreciate Mr. Markwood being here today, worked today, and still found time to be here this evening, so I appreciate you taking the time to do that. Again, had several highly qualified applicants for the position, but when we sat down and talked to Mr. Markwood and then checked references, just his overall skill level, expertise that he can bring to the job that we don't have from other staff members, I think going to be a real asset for us. Comes highly recommended, and Matt Smith, just really excited to have him on board as well. So, outside of harassing him here when he first got here this evening and trying to run him through the ringer a little bit, he's going to be a great addition to the staff. His eagerness, his willingness to just jump in and go to work, identify things that need to be done, and just go do them. Definitely self-starter, self-motivated, and I think that's going to be a great addition to Rushville Middle School. So we're excited about that, and can't wait for him to be on board full time. He was here today to kind of shadow and learn the ropes a little bit, and tomorrow we'll throw him in the deep end and see how it goes. So, Mr. Markwood, really appreciate you being here this evening, and welcome to the Falcon family. Anything you'd like to say?
Thanks.
No, so there you go. Good enough. That's fine.
I appreciate it. Thanks. Speaking is not my.
I know Mr. Hoffman likes the C on your shirt there.
All right. Need a motion to approve?
So moved, Mr. President.
Moved by Mr. Hoffman, need a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Conrad Zangmeister, Mrs. Roberts.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mrs. Conrad Zangmeister?
Yes.
Mrs. Johns?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Smelter?
Yes, motion approved.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I know. know, I recognize you now. Now they got a little closer. Oh, yes.
Nice to meet you.
And welcome, I saw you earlier today.
Ms. Markle, again, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but if you want to slip out, that's perfectly fine as well.
I had my wife with me, who's gonna go get something to eat.
There you
so
go. Appreciate you
I
being
don't know
here.
if it's safe for me to go out here.
Oops.
Thanks a lot,
Yep.
guys, I appreciate it.
Oops. All right, move to 6.3. This is a motion to approve the resignation for retirement for Tammy Elkins as high school aide effective August 1st.
Would recommend we approve that. Again, shared her sentiments earlier and her apologies for not being able to be here.
Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Johns. Need a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Myers. Mr. Roberts.
Mrs. Johns,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Conrad Zangmeister,
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman,
Yes.
Mr. Smelter.
Yes, motion's approved. 6.4, motion to approve supplemental support service contract for James Chop as middle school baseball, 7th grade coach on salary schedule C, group 6, step 1.
I would recommend we approve that. We had enough kids come out for 7th grade baseball team, so it's exciting to see the numbers up. We were hopeful to have a 7th grade softball team as well, but just did not have the numbers to come out to have 2 different teams. But Coach Trout has, volunteered and worked with the group for quite some time, so excited to have him on as a paid member of the staff. So would recommend we approve that.
And his father is the 8th grade coach.
Yes.
So that works very well.
All right, need motion to approve.
So moved?
Moved by Mr. Myers, I will second. Mr. Roberts.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Smelter.
Yes,
Mrs. Conrad Zangmeister.
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman.
Yes.
Mrs. Johns.
Yes.
motion's approved. Move to 6.5, motion to amend the continuing teacher contract for Andy Clark from M degree step 18 to M degree step 19 on the teacher salary schedule.
This was just an error on my part, as we were putting that on the board agenda to transfer him, just counted wrong. So amending that to go from 18 to step 19.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Conrad Zangmeister, 92nd.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Hoffman. Mr. Roberts.
Mrs. Conrad Zangmeister.
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman.
Yes.
Mrs. Johns.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Smelter.
Yes, motion's approved. Moves to 6.6, motion to amend the resignation of James Guzman from May 1st to April 28th.
And I think that was as a result of SCRS. If you work one day in a month, then it throws off the retirement. So he's moving that back to April 28th. So would recommend we approve that.
Need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Johns. Need a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Myers. Mr. Roberts.
Mrs. Johns.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Mrs. Conrad Zangmeister.
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman.
Yes.
Mr. Smelter.
Yes, motion's approved. 6.7, motion to approve the transfer of Jamie Kostuk from Bremen grade 4 to Rushville Middle School grade 5 science.
Keep looking over my shoulder to see if Mr. Knott's gonna, wrestle with Mrs. Hahn. All right. Obviously, hate to lose Miss Kostuk out of Bremen Elementary School. It's just done an amazing job for such a long time. But she has a real passion for science, and I know she'll do a great job at 5th grade science. And Miss Hahn just, she had the higher bid to get the teacher. So Mr. Knott just have to work harder next time.
Question?
6.8, I have Hannah.
There you go. There you go.
Questions, comments? Need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Conrad Zangmeister. I will second. Mr. Roberts.
Mrs. Conrad Zangmeister.
Yes.
Mr. Smelter.
Yes,
Mr. Hoffman.
Yes.
Mrs. Johns.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
motion's approved. 6.8, motion to approve the transfer of Hannah Landis from Bremen Kindergarten to Bremen Grade 4.
And it's, hate it for the Bremen kindergarten team, the very strong team. But Hannah's passion is with fourth grade. Did her student teaching in fourth grade, and just had rave reviews when we first interviewed her from her time in student teaching. She was a Marshall graduate, and I went to school with the teacher student teaching under, and when Hannah was applying here, got a call and said, "Hey, listen, this is one of the best student teachers I've ever had," and so this is where her passion lies, and so it'll be good for the Bremen fourth grade team, and Mr. Knott and I are working on filling Bremen kindergarten. We have interviews tomorrow for the open spots, and so we're the shuffle and dominoes are falling. So.
All right, need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hoffman. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Johns. Mrs. Roberts.
Mr. Hoffman.
Yes.
Mrs. Johns.
Yes.
Mrs. Conrad Langmeister.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Smeltzer.
Yes, motion's approved. 6.9, substitute teacher list. Looks like there's few
Yeah.
names there.
I believe we had 3 names there
Okay.
for addition.
Okay. Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Conrad Zangmeister. I need a second. I'll second. Mrs. Roberts?
Mrs. Conrad Langmeister.
Yes.
Mr. Smeltzer.
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman.
Yes.
Mrs. Johns.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Motion's approved. 6.10, motion to approve 0.5 of a day leave, half a day leave, without pay on March 23rd for Kelly Myers.
And Ms. Myers has exhausted her personal leave, so this was just needed a half day of unpaid leave for an absence there.
Okay. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Conrad Zangmeister. Need a second? Second by Mrs. Johns. Mrs. Roberts?
Mrs. Conrad Langmeister.
Yes.
Mrs. Johns.
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Abstain.
Mr. Smeltzer.
Yes. Motion's approved. 6.11, motion to approve the Fairfield Union High School Program of Studies for the 2023-2024 school year.
We talked about this extensively at the last meeting. There were some very minor adjustments from the last meeting, just cleaning up some language and programs that we've added for our seniors, like going to the Workforce Development Center, financial literacy class, a couple of those things. So as opposed to us going back through all of that again, Mr. McPhail, Mr. Schaefer, myself or Mr. Stadio can try to answer any questions you might have. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward from the last meeting.
Questions, comments?
I do have a question
Sure,
on this.
sure.
I mean, this is a lot of information, and just from a parent's perspective, how does this actually get into the parents' hands besides, the beginning of the year? I mean, I think it's out on the website, correct?
It is, yeah.
And, this can be overwhelming at times. So do you have a lot of parents that actually reach out, or or is there any kind of like initial meeting, that opportunity for parents to come in to actually go through this, especially at freshman level?
Well, we've had parent-teacher conferences already once where the old one is more available, not the most current one.
It is a very valid question, and honestly, a challenge. As you mentioned, we have this posted on the website. The counselors go into, this is the time of year. Mrs. Hahn mentioned, they go into the middle school. We do the same thing at the high school. So the counselors go into each of the 4 grade levels, and they speak with every single student. But it is definitely drinking water through a fire hose. It's a lot of information, and over the years, it gets more technical because of all the various things that students have access to. We don't have a parent meeting to discuss the program of study, but and it's really something that administratively we'd be on board for any kind of ideas. We talk all the time about what we can do to try to get more parents to come to the meetings that we have to disseminate information. Just even like, for example, the CCP meeting, which really is mandatory, but, you know, you've attended. Now, granted, it's probably not the most, those aren't the most interesting meetings in the world, but, you know, they're not very well attended. Now, during COVID, we did experiment with some videos of the counselors' presentations, which is, you know, probably a practice we should continue and keep doing. I wish I had a better answer for you, but, you know, we make it available. We're here to answer questions. I don't know how to get that information in front of a large group of people.
Do we cover this during like open houses, or I know there's one parent information meeting at the beginning of the year. That might be in conjunction with the open houses.
Aspects, but not like
Okay.
the document as a standalone or like in any kind of real depth.
Well, even at beginning at near the I hate to hit this on you, but even beginning at the 8th grade level, it's just having this document available to parents.
They
Hey,
get
this is
it-
what's
they get it
going
these days.
on.
And we
It's gonna
actually are
happen.
having, at our conferences next week, one of the high school counselors is coming to our building, and it is going to be set up in our cafeteria just to answer questions and be available for parents who are coming in that evening for conferences, just as another means to communicate that with them.
Okay.
The
The
eighth
transition-
graders do receive that right now as they're planning for classes next year.
They do.
Okay.
But the transition from 8th to 9th grade it's the toughest one, obviously. And so this is
Because you
new,
got to
what we're
determine
trying
which.
this year.
Yes.
And we were intentional about parent-teacher conferences because we felt like, you know, they have great attendance at their conferences, so at least somebody will be there to answer questions. But it is a challenge. It is a challenge. And honestly, not just with the program of study, but, you know, with our CCP information, that's extremely complicated. And, you know, it's just, unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't come up until somebody stubs their toe, and then, you know, then you're trying to.
I'll fumble through that. Okay, well, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, I need a motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Myers, need a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Johns. Ms. Roberts.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mrs. Johns?
Yes.
Mrs. Conrad Zaymeister?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Smeltzer?
Yes, motion's approved. Moves to 6.12, motion to approve James Miller to take 7th and 8th grade students to Philadelphia and Gettysburg to visit historical sites and museums, October 19th to 21st, 2023.
Obviously, this is an incredible trip for our kids, and would highly recommend we approve that, so. Been doing this one for a while.
Yeah. Questions, comments? Motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Conrad Zangmeister. I will second.
Mrs.
Mr.
Conrad Zaymeister?
Yes.
Mr. Smeltzer?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mrs. Johns?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Motion's approved. Moves to 6.13, motion to approve Judd Baker to take the Ag Diagnostic Team to state competition in Lima, March 2nd and 3rd.
Put this on the agenda. We did not find out until after the last board meeting that we had students qualify for this trip. So they, you know, obviously just took the trip this past weekend, bringing it to the board because it was an overnight trip for approval. Obviously, we hate bringing things after the fact for your approval, but it really was out of our control as far as knowing that we had kids qualify. So would ask that you approve that.
All right, need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hoffman, need a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Myers. Mr. Roberts.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mrs. Conrad Zaymeister?
Yes.
Mrs. Johns?
Yes.
Mr. Smeltzer?
Yes, motion's approved. 6.14, motion to approve Crystal Zwick to take marketing students to a workshop at Kings Island, May 17th.
We approved Crystal's portion of this trip, and so this motion is just to approve the student trip. When we go long distances like that, we like to have the board approve going that distance. So that's why it's on the agenda.
Questions, comments? Motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Conrad Zangmeister. Need a second. Second by Mrs. Johns. Mrs. Roberts?
Mrs. Conrad Zangsmeister.
Yes.
Mrs. Johns.
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Smelter.
Yes, motion's approved. Moves to 6.15. Motion to approve the resolution accepting the rates and amounts as set by the Fairfield County Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor.
This is our, normally we have to do this every year. Back in January, you approved the tax budget as far as our input that we send out to the auditor. The auditor has now gone through looking at kind of all those values and assessed where our taxes need to be set. So this is now just accepting those tax rates. We will then sign it and send it back to the auditor just to say, yep, we're all in agreement. But this is really just a yearly procedure that we have to do.
Okay, need a motion to approve.
So moved?
Moved by Mr. Myers. Need a second? I will second. Mrs. Roberts?
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Smelter?
Yes.
Mrs. Conrad Zangsmeister?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mrs. Johns?
Yes.
Motion's approved. 6.16, motion to approve a field experience services agreement with the Ohio State University.
Mr. DeStadio, you want to talk on that one?
Yeah, so this is a kind of typical service agreement that we enter into with universities when we're trying to bring in student teachers. It's one of those processes that when we're inviting someone into the classroom, we want to kind of cross the T's, dot the I's, make sure that both the institution and our district have a clear agreement of expectations moving forward for both the teachers aspect and the student teaching process, as well as the college student. We've done this for years. Once again, just more of a heads up to the board, as there can sometimes be either financial compensation paid to the teacher, or sometimes instead of being financial, it might be paid in the way of CEUs or continuing educational units for our teachers to renew their license every 5 years. Once again, very excited to have the opportunity to have one of the premier educational programs in the state of Ohio send their student teachers our way. And I think that is a testament to our ag program. Our ag program is known statewide, and I think Ohio State would admit that they kind of look to our teaching department to put some of their best and brightest student teachers in. So really a win-win for both Ohio State and our district.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Conrad Zangsmeister. Need a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Johns. Mrs. Roberts?
Mrs. Conrad Zangsmeister?
Yes.
Mrs. Johns?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Smelter?
Yes, motion passes. 6.17, motion to waive the first reading and approve revisions to policy BDDA, notification of meetings as presented.
This is recommended by the Ohio School Board Association. And it's basically just saying that when we notify the community of our meetings, we utilize our website for that. All of the board meetings are on the website listed under Board of Education. They're also on the district calendar that, board meeting and where it's at. If we have to change meetings, we generally also send out a message through the one-call system, the notification system, but the primary method for informing the public of Board of Education meetings is through our website. So just clarifying that.
Questions, comments? Need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Johns, second.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Myers. Mr. Roberts?
Mrs. Johns?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mrs. Conrad Zangsmeister?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Smelter?
Yes, motion approved. That moves us into number 7, closing items. The next meeting will be Monday, March 20th, 7 o'clock at Pleasantville Elementary School cafeteria. If there's nothing else, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Conrad Zangsmeister. Need a second? I will second. Mrs. Roberts?
Mrs. Conrad Zangsmeister?
Yes.
Mr. Smelter?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mrs. Johns?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Motion's approved. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.